All right, so we're going to use the same food chain or food web as we did to make our food chains, and we're going to go ahead and identify the roles that each of these holds in the food web based on how it obtains its energy. So like previously, we're going to go ahead and identify the producers by those that don't consume or don't eat anything. And those are going to be these four at the bottom. Now sometimes they're nice and pretty at the bottom, but not always. So you need to look for those that do not eat anything. Okay, they use photosynthesis. So I'm going to go ahead and I've already made a key here. This may be a little different than the one we did in class. I think today we used herbivore as green, but we're going to go ahead and color the producers green. You can just kind of shade over them. So all of these are producers, and they do not consume. Okay, and I specifically chose these kind of crazy organisms so that you would have to look at that. Okay, so now that I know that, I can go ahead and do the rest of it. So you just go organism by organism. So let's start with the sea urchin. Both arrows pointing to the sea urchin come from producers. Okay, that makes this organism an herbivore. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to use yellow as our herbivore. I'm just going to shade over that. Okay, this also makes the sea urchin prey. Okay, but he or she is not a predator, they're only prey. So you're going to then go, there's another herbivore in the water flea. Okay, both arrows come from producers. Okay. As does this one I still can pronounce. Okay. As does this sweep. And again, now this one is nice and pretty and kind of organized, but just like in class, sometimes they do, you've got herbivores up here and carnivores over here, so don't always go with that. So let's go ahead and look at the crab. Okay. So we have energy coming from the euphacid here, okay, to the crab. So this arrow is a consumer, and the sea urchin also passes energy. Both of these are consumers, making this organism a carnivore. So you would just color over that. Okay. All right. So if you go to the blenny, okay, it eats the euphacid, which is a consumer. It also eats crabs, even though it gets eaten by crabs. Okay. Again, that one is a carnivore. Okay. So you simply have to look at the arrows to find out what it eats and then identify it as such. This one doesn't have any omnivores in it. There are none that eat consumers and. So let's kind of pretend here for a second. And I'm going to go ahead and add another arrow, just pretending, from the dinoflagellates to this yellow-eyed mullet up here. Okay. So remember, just pretending. This arrow to the yellow-eyed mullet comes from the blenny, which is a consumer. Okay, he ate something. The other arrow that is pointing to him comes from a producer. So two arrows, but they're both from different types of organisms, which makes that an omnivore. Okay. And again, you can look at the tiger shark. Both of the arrows pointing to it are from consumers. So you would go ahead and make that a carnivore. Okay. One other thing that you're going to be asked to do is identify if it is a predator, a prey, or can be both. Okay. Just like we talked about, the sea urchin is prey, but it is never the predator because it doesn't hunt anything. We don't consider producers needing to be hunted. Okay. You don't have to chase them down. So the other thing is it can be both. For instance, the crab. It is the predator because it ate the sea urchin, but it is also then going to become the prey when it is eaten by the octopus. Okay. So the crab would hold both the predator and the prey role. Now, when you have an organism that is only a predator and doesn't have the role of prey, that means they're at the top of the food chain. Okay. There can be more than one. So So you see the octopus is never prey. You can tell this because he or she doesn't pass his energy on to anyone. Okay, so the octopus would be one. Okay, the dolphin is one. Okay, those have a special name. Okay, they're the apex predator. Okay, now just like we talked about in class, remember though, that doesn't mean that they're never going to pass on their energy. At some point, okay, whether it's a tragic boating accident or they just die of old age, these organisms will pass their energy on through scavengers and decomposers. Okay.